The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, and check this out. Big pre-releases are back, and on Saturday, January 31st, you can meet Magic the Gathering artist Matt Stewart in person at the big Conflux pre-release in Richmond, Virginia. Matt's the artist of Sigil's Blessing, Excommunicate, Night of the Skyward Eye, and Battle Grace Angel, so make plans to attend the Richmond, Virginia big Conflux pre-release and bring those cards for Matt to autograph.
This is Randy Bueller.
This is Steve Saden.
This is Jacob Van Lunen.
Welcome to the Magic Show.
It's always funny in the morning. She isn't always funny in the night.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Magic Show. This week we're focusing on Conflux, and while I've been busy on my interviews with Magic movers and shakers over the past 2 weeks, over half of the set has made its way onto the interwebs. Not only that, but I've got my own personal spoiler direct from Wizards to gush about. So are you ready to see Cliffrunner Behemoth and talk about what might be in the rest of the set? Let's go! So a few months ago, leading up to the release of Shards of Alara, I was blessed with another preview card of my very own. This turned out to be Ad Nauseam, a card that has certainly made impact in Vintage, Legacy, and even Extended. However, as a Timmy/Spike who focuses primarily on Standard and Extended, I had a hard time evaluating the card. While I could see its potential, I couldn't put the pieces together to make it truly remarkable. I left my preview feeling as though I didn't do the card justice. I loved the art, the effect, and the potential, but I was left unfulfilled. That all changed with Conflux. After speaking to someone in Wizards marketing at Worlds, they assured me a nice green fatty to gush over, and boy did I get it. Say hello to Cliffrunner Behemoth. Oh yeah, that's right. Go ahead, let it sink in. Alright, this guy is one hell of a fatty. He's definitely undercosted in the right place situation, and luckily that situation isn't too difficult to create. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. This guy is retardedly good with Figure of Destiny. This guy was practically created to give you the perfect turn 4 play after you cast your Figure of Destiny on turn 1, pump him up on turns 2 and 3, and then smash into the red zone with a 4/4 figure and a 5/3 hasty life-linking badass Cliffrunner Behemoth. The other incredible interaction is with everyone's favorite new Planeswalker, a Johnny Vengeant. Considering that many think that Kithkin with the Johnny Vengeant is a powerful strategy, I don't think it will take much for players to begin looking at Naya strategies as well, using a few tri-lands to smooth the mana over. All I know is Cliffrunner Behemoth seems poised to destroy aggro mirror matches while making every red-white card from Balefire Liege to Spite-Mare get another look from players in order to make him as powerful as he possibly can be. But that said, the naysayers will quickly point out that it dies to everything, the oh-so-vaulted phrase brought up whenever another kick-ass green fatty hits the scene. Also note how his toughness is set ever so importantly at 3, meaning he will still be taken down by Incinerate, Agony Warp, and Nameless Inversion. This is a balancing mechanism, because if Cliffrunner Behemoth was 4 toughness or higher, you can bet it would run amok. Did I also mention he's a beast? Because the Ravenous Baloth interaction is rare, but it's a factor. Even without the lifelink, a 5/3 haste creature for 4 mana isn't a bad deal, particularly at a comfortable 3 and a green. Red-Green Beats is a favorite of many casual and competitive players, though you really want to get those Figures of Destiny in there, because he's the guy who you could imagine would be riding on the back of Cliffrunner Behemoth to victory. So here's another awesome monster to crack at your pre-release, as he is absurdly good and limited, and one to begin thinking about working into your very own constructed decks with Planeswalkers and the like. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast for my very own preview this go around, and be on the lookout for Cliffy in the red zone. Alright, so the next segment has to deal with rumored cards. Cliffrunner Behemoth was your official spoiler that comes directly from Wizards. The rest of this comes from forum posters that have gotten things wrong in the past. So let's take a look. I'll begin with white, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I think that the white cards in Conflux are some of the best white cards ever printed at one time, period. They have 3 or 4 cards that are just out of this world. The first is Path to Exile. You simply can't deny the power of this card. Check it out. Unbelievable. Easily the second best removal spell ever printed in the history of the game. Allow me to repeat, this is the best removal spell printed in the past decade. It has eclipsed Condemn, Wing Shards, Exile, reciprocate, and unmake as the best damn white removal spell in just about forever. I don't think that this card can really be overstated. It's the sweet love and chisel, and it will find its way into every deck in which you play white for years to come. It's playable in every format, and it will remind Vintage and Legacy players that they too need basic lands in their deck or risk the awkward fail to find after a single white mana just got rid of their monstrously huge beat stick. Foils of this card will go for approximately $4 hojillion, and I suggest you get your set quickly. This is probably the best card on the set, and you can thank all that's holy it isn't rare, because the last time a card was this good and this powerful, it really was rare, and they call it Cash Seize. Maybe you've seen it played here and there. Moving right along, how about one of the best hosers printed since Flash Freeze? Say hello to Celestial Purge. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that says permanent. Thank you, Wizards, for finally giving us a powerful, cheap answer to Figure of Destiny, Bitter Blossom, Demigod of Revenge, Bitter Blossom, a Johnny Vengeant, Bitter Blossom, and Bitter Blossom. I really appreciate the power level of this card in a multicolor environment, and with red and black cards absolutely dominating in various metagames, this could even be a good choice for your main deck in the upcoming Standard. Another white card that is absolutely superb and will be quite the expensive foil. Keeping the hits coming, have you seen Lapse of Certainty? Yes, this isn't Time Spiral, but that is most certainly a color-shifted Memory Lapse. Now, back in the day, when Memory Lapse first appeared on Homelands, I recall many players I knew thinking it was the worst counterspell ever. It just lets them play the spell next turn, they cried. However, this is 2009, and by now we know about this thing called Tempo. And Tempo is king in Modern Magic. And so we can appreciate how we not only got Memory Lapse back, but we got it back in the best aggro color in the format. Many players still doubt the power of this card, and to them I say watch out. Kithkin were fantastic and plenty powerful with Mana Tithe, and with a full-blown counterspell they can be even better. Now it's not just hedging your bets against a possible Force Spike, it's hedging your bets against a card that says counter target spell on it against a mono white deck. I know I can't wait to Lapse of Certainty my first Cryptic Commander Wrath of God, and I bet it feels friggin' fantastic. Moving back down the mana cost chain, what about Mark of Asylum? I like this card a lot because it's an extremely efficient red hoser. Against a mono red deck, things get pretty sticky once this hits play. Fairies will love it because it stops pyroclasm effects, and white weenie players will love it because it makes Knight of Metal Grain that much more of a complete whoopin' against the red deck, though Burnt and Forge Tender is still a fine man. Or woman, whatever it is. Either way, this is a solid and efficient rare that I look forward to ruining a burn player's day with. The last white card is Martial Coup. Check out this monster. Insane. Come on now, people. This is ridiculous. With all of these incredible tools, mono white control might actually be a viable deck again. It rocked the Louisville Extended PTQ a few weeks ago, but that was with the help of cards like Decree of Justice and Martyr of Sands and Proclamation of Rebirth. In Standard, we have this kick-ass Wrath of God that not only clears the way, but should provide you with the win in just a few turns. I love how powerful this is in Limited, Standard, and particularly multiplayer, where you can clear out a whole table of dudes while having a host of your own both to attack and defend with. Just a kick-ass card. Next up, we move into blue and see one tremendous fatty. For the first time in forever, say hello to a kick-ass Leviathan. Yep, now I know this looks like just another blue monster, but look closer. With both Shroud, Trample, and an incredibly huge and never before printed 7/11 power and toughness, this guy is just nuts with Makeshift Mannequin. A Reanimator's dream creature, this bad boy pretty much demands a sweeper of some sort and is damn near unkillable otherwise. At least back in the day, Simic Skyswallower could reasonably be dealt with Kaiga and Maloku tokens, but a 7/11? A Quickie Mart on legs? Watch out for this guy. He is not the type you should be playing for its costs. Rather, get sneaky and put him into play in some other fashion. Moving on to black, take a look at what will surely be the basis for a new archetype, Nyxathid. Yeah, that's a 7/7 for 3 mana right there. And yes, you really do have Raven's Crime and Standard, along with plenty of other tools at your disposal. I think to fully appreciate Nixithid, you need to understand the type of deck he's best suited for. Quite simply, you get to run the best and most efficient discard spells in the format while your opponents are reliant on those cards to win games. You have Thoughtseize and Raven's Crime to begin the destruction, but look at these cards provided to you in Conflux. As in Scepter of the Fugue and Rotting Rats. Now, when you combine these cards with other overlooked rares like Cunning Lathemancer, you suddenly find yourself wondering how your opponent would deal with a 7/7 that has a nasty habit of getting really big really quickly. Think about it. If they want to kill Nixithid with Incinerate or Agony Warp, they will need to have 4 cards in hand when that spell resolves. That's quite a few cards when you're dealing with a discard-themed deck, and Rotting Rats is also a fantastic way to get fatties in the yard for reanimation. I think it's safe to say Nixithid will be leading the charge this year for a new Tarmorack archetype. Except, without the rack or the Tarmogoyf. Looking at red, you can't not gush over Banefire. My God. Yeah, that card really does say screw you fairies if you look close enough. If there was any doubt that this was the set which diminished the shining star of Fey dominance, it was this one. I don't know what I can say about this X-Spell. It's better than virtually every other X-Spell I can think of. Sure, Get Through Fire was neat, but you could still counter it. Urza's Rage was an awesome burn spell, but you had to pump a ridiculous amount of mana to make it badass and uncounterable. No, this one needs a mere 6 mana to be absolutely ridiculous and an unstoppable force. This means 6 mana will kill whatever it is that you thought your Burnt and Forged Tinder would save, including your own ass, and no, that cryptic command won't do jack diddly against this. What this spell does is make you look at how one would stop it, and without Vince or Shaper Savant in Standard, our only option is to redirect the spell with Swerve. But what else redirects spells? Oh yeah! What will end up being the focus of a huge number of bad beat stories in 2009, Wild Ricochet was born to mess with this card. Not only do you get to redirect it back to their face, you get a second copy of it, and yes, the full cost of X is copied as well. Wild Ricochet has been underrated for a while now, and it's time for it to shine once more. Don't forget to pick up your copies of this kick-ass sideboard card, because Banefire will surely be one of the biggest and best chase rares from Conflux. Speaking of destroying fairies, how about that other screw you card from Conflux? It's called Volcanic Fallout. That's right, uncounterable Steam Blast that was upgraded with both instant and uncounterability for a mere red mana in replacement of a colorless mana. Now, that's an upgrade I can get behind. This will allow you to get fairies in a very compromising position and fast, while allowing you to also counteract the upcoming lapse of certainty against Kithkin. While it appears to be a sideboard card at best, it is one of the best and most powerful tools you can have against fairies and token-based strategies. Next up, I want to take a look at the latest edition of the Ling Supercycle, Thornling. Now, the issue here really isn't the card. The card's fine. I don't think it's going to be impacted and constructed that much, and the haste ability is a bit awkward, but it's a cool, fun green monster. The problem here is the art. Not since Countryside Crusher has art been so hideously mismatched with its name. I don't know about you, but I always thought one of the coolest things about the Ling creatures, that is Morphling and Torchling, was that those two cards seem to set a precedent of what we should expect future Lings to adhere to. Specifically the image of a clone with something slightly different. But instead, we have Moo Moo Plow Cow here, decimating the countryside and looking ridiculous. This is an art fail of epic proportions, and I must say, I am seriously disappointed. Moving on to multicolor cards, I now know why Aaron Forsyth was regretting the power of Vivid Lands and Reflecting Pools at Worlds, because look at this 5-color beast. Holy crap. Is that really an Oblivion Stone with big, scary legs? This is exactly what 5-color control was looking for. Sure, Archon of Justice was cute at removing an annoying non-land permanent, but why not just blow them all up? While Path to Exile will make this a bit more difficult to trigger, there's nothing like knowing your Wrath of God is going to kill not only your Child of Alara and the opposing Bitter Blossom tokens, but their Bitter Blossom and Jace Beleren as well. That is good stuff right there. In the meantime, it's still a 6/6 trampler that must be dealt with, as that magical word trample is yet another knife in the gut of fairies. No more endless chump blockers will be enough for this guy, and I expect to see Mr. Oblivionstone kicking ass on a tournament table near you. Next, we need to quickly mention Progenitus. Now, I love me an epic creature, but wow, is that an incredible monstrosity! Protection from everything! Yeah, everything. You ask yourself, does it have protection from... And then you stop yourself because the answer is yes. Can it be targeted or blocked or even dealt damage by something? Nope, and nope. And the art. My God, the art is just incredible. May I please have this in some uber ridiculous dual screen ready revolution, and soon? That would be great, thanks. Now, this is a creature with not only the name, art, and power of a 10 mana all-mana symbol dude, but how about that flavor text? The soul of the world has returned. Damn, that is just fantastic. It turns out the runner-up was, in times of badassery, he was a badass. Also, I'm pretty sure Oath of Druids players around the world creamed their jeans on this one. Progenitus was just made for ending games. Lastly, let's take a look at the long-awaited Nicol Bolas Planeswalker. Yeah, baby. Look at that ultimate ability. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I don't know how you spell win, but that ultimate ability does a damn fine job of it. This is a Timmy-powered Planeswalker that is high on fun and low on replacing Cruel Ultimatum as the over-the-top spell of choice for 5-color control decks. With that said, I love how fantastic Nicol Bolas looks. I love how his first ability will almost always destroy an opposing Planeswalker first and foremost, and with his ability to both protect himself with control magic and in the game with his ultimate, Nicol Bolas is as big, flashy, and over-the-top as I expected him to be. So that's it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed my rundown of my favorite Conflux cards so far, and we'll see you here next week as we prep for the Conflux pre-release and with what will inevitably be a full spoiler and get ready to sail on the Game in the Gulf cruise just a week later. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
My camera on, I cut my fingers on the way I'm slipping away. I turned my feelings on, you made me untouchable for life.
I always like the fatties.